I am a mind reader, and I can tell that these are the things that you have been struggling with. One, you have been thinking about how do I do these calls? Two, how do I even get people on my calendar? Three, I don't even like to make calls and have to talk to random strangers. Four, can I just put out content on social media and explode my business? Right. And so interesting literally about this module is that it comes down really to how are you actually, what are you providing people? Because you know the content, but it's about the resource you're providing people, and then how to actually get those clients. That's really what it is. So in this particular lesson, we're going to be focused on, well, how do you actually set all of this up in the back end so you can be able to get clients, right? Like in terms of to provide them with the resources that that is going to help them succeed really at the end of the day, right? So I'm gonna give you some low cost or free options to be able to do that. Because when you, so let's go ahead and let's focus on how to master pricing, right? We're gonna talk about mastering pricing. And what it comes down to, anytime I'm thinking about how do I price any new products or programs or services I'm coming out with, particularly for you, it's gonna be your coaching services or your speaking services. When you're looking at that, there's one thing you want to consider, right? Just as a general rule of thumb, if you're helping people make money in some kind of way, I don't care if it's real estate or if it's business or if it's entrepreneurship. If what you have is a direct income to helping them make money, you can charge more for that, right? Typically, mid hundreds, high hundreds, close to that thousand plus, depends, right? Typically, if it's personal development, depending on how big your brand is, then you can charge, then you might have to charge a little bit lower, right? That doesn't mean you got to charge $10 a month, but you can charge a lower, a little bit, maybe $50, $100, $200, $300, typically a month, something like that, right? So it kind of just depends. But let me give you some ideas on how do you know how much you should really charge. So first thing I look at is duration. Duration is how long are you actually training somebody for? So if you're looking at your coaching program and you're training somebody for every time you meet, you training them for 90 minutes as opposed to 30 minutes, because that's more of your time and you giving them more content, that's going to increase the price. So one thing I want you to think about is if I'm coaching somebody either one-on-one or a group, or if I'm charging for how long am I training for? If it's coaching, how long are we going to be on the phone for? If it's doing a speaking engagement, well, am I speaking for an hour, or you're going to have me speaking for a half day? That's called duration. So that's going to determine how much you charge. Number two is called frequency, right? Frequency is how often are you speaking with them, right? So if you got a coaching program, are you coaching people once a week or once a month? That's 4 extra times, right? Or that's 3 extra times, right? So that's going to literally, it's going to cost you more for that, right? So it all kind of depends on your lifestyle, all kind of depends on what you want to do. Typically, I recommend if you're just starting on this journey and you're just building this up, I typically recommend that you coach people at least once a week. If it's one-on-one, we focus on a 12-week coaching program, as I mentioned earlier. Or you can do monthly, whether it's one-on-one or group. You can say, hey, listen, come in and I'm gonna coach you every week, and it's gonna be ongoing, and they'll make their investment on a monthly basis. Whatever that investment is, it might be $50, $75, $150, $500, depending on what you're offering. Then that's something that you should have figured out on an influencer blueprint guide. But just know that depending on how often you meet with them, that price will change. That's two. Number three, um, resources. Like, what resources are you giving them access to, right? Are you giving them, if somebody's coming in and you're just giving them a phone call once a week, that's something different than I'm going to give you all the replays, because then now you got to do it, or you got to hire an admin to download the replays, you got to re-upload them, you got to do descriptions, you got to have a place to host them, which I'll show you some places to host. Right now, this can incur additional expenses and time and energy and effort, and for that you want to be compensated for that time, right? So resources, right? Are you adding worksheets? That's going to take additional time, energy, money, and effort to create. Are you giving them free live event tickets, right? You could be charging $100 per ticket to get into your live event or your virtual event, and it takes time, energy, effort to build those things up. Are you giving them a book? Your book you might be selling your book for $20 on Amazon, but if you're saying everybody who comes in my program, I'm going to give you a free book. Well, it takes time. is money and effort put into that book, right? The book is not free. You know, you got to charge for shipping and all of that. So you got to think about that as incorporated into the prices, right? So what additional resources are you adding? I'll give you an example. So for our PCS program, one of the things that I'm looking to do in the near future is provide additional resources in terms of a team that's available all week that's going to be able to help people with the tech, help people with different stages of that PCS map that I showed you, right? Like literally hand holding, right? So that's something, you know, I'm kind of thinking about doing, right? Some of them seem really excited about it, so we'll see. But because that's going to take a different, it's going to take me hiring people, that's going to take me bringing on other people, and now I got to compensate more people. That's going to be another level that they'll have to pay for, right? Or an additional amount that has to be an investment, you know, in, right? So you got to think about what are additional resources. Number 4, details. Details of, let's say, coaching, meaning how deep are you going, right? Let's how deep. See, what the difference is, and this is what I've been telling people, right? So sometimes a lot of us, we get afraid to put out great content or our best content on social media. And it's like, oh, if I give them, you know, if I give them everything, or if I give them my best content or my best strategy or my best tips, then why are they going to want to work with me? It's crazy. It's crazy because listen, nobody knows how much you know. Nobody knows how much you know up here. And guess what? You're always learning. You're taking this course. You're learning from different things, right? You might rock with me in a coach. You're going to be learning so many different things. You're going to be learning things in your genre, in your niche, your topic. You're going to be speaking with people. You're going to be reading books. You on podcasts. You learning so much that even is what you knew even last week versus today is drastically different. So nobody's ever going to know everything that you know. So why do you say that, coach? So I'm saying that because don't ever be afraid to put out great content. And again, why do I even say that? Is because when you put out content, you're doing 2-3 minute clips, right? Great advice. But however, you can't really go deep. You can't really give somebody the details. You can't really give them the step-by-step game plan. You can't really show them visually, you know, show them what it really looks like, right? So for you, is the benefit of people working with you as a coach is that you really get a chance to go deep. And how deep you go with your training is going to make a big difference, right? I can say this, you know, in order to for example, so if I'm a life coach and I'm talking about you having better habits, I can say, you know, in order for you to be successful, you know, you got to have a morning routine. And that morning routine, you do that over and over and over, you're gonna get closer towards your goal, right? And you're gonna have the energy to get towards it. That can be, let's just say that was an Instagram video. But if somebody worked with me as part of my program, I'll say, okay, in terms of a morning routine, we're talking details, right? We're talking details, right? So in terms of a morning routine, this is all I want you to do. You're gonna wake up. I want you to wake up early. I want you to wake up at 4 o'clock every morning. When you wake up, I want you to drink 8 ounces of glass water. All right. And then once you have that, you're going to get on. Then I want you to do some stretching. You're going to open up your body. You're going to do a technique that's called Qigong, which opens up your chest, or opens up your arms. Then what you're going to, you see how deep, you see how more detailed that is? Now somebody can say, oh, if I follow this recipe, if I follow this plan, then I just took all the guesswork out and I'm going to be successful. You feel what I'm saying? So like, that's going to be the difference, is that you don't typically go into that level of detail on social media. You can in some of your private trainings, but typically what you're doing is, if somebody really wants to learn it over and over and over, and they want you know, they want lessons, they want workbooks, they want worksheets, they want to go deep, etc. It's gonna cost more. All right. And then one of the last things I kind of think about in terms of my pricing is my brand, right? So brand in terms of like, how big are you, right? You big as ET hip hop, you know, ET or Lisa Nichols, Ayana Vizon, or, you know, Mark Cuban, or like how, you know, Damon John, right? Like, how big is your brand? How known are you, right? Because if you're in demand and you're in terms of like, you know, people want to work with you, you have a little bit more say in terms of how much you charge. Does that make sense? Right? You can charge more because your time is limited and so many people. It's like, it's demand, right? Supply and demand, right? So you got people a lot of people want to work with you. So like for ET, he doesn't have to charge low prices to try to get to coach more people, because a lot of people already want to work with him, right? And he only has but so many hours in a day. So if he's coaching people, he's going to coach people who are going to be willing to pay the most, right? And that's who he's going to spend his time with, because it's just a better leverage of his time. So same thing, like how, so as time goes on, right, you continue to learn, and hopefully you rock out with me as we continue to go and build your brand. As that happens, understand that over time, you're going to be able to charge more, right? So now I can command $1,000, $2,000 to work with me, per month, coaching business owners. But when I first started, I would coach. I remember one of my first clients, I coached, and I was just like trying to get clients, and I was like struggling. I'm like, yo, I got to coach somebody. I remember one of my first coaching clients, I charged her $300 to work with her for a year. Think about that, $300 a year. Now, depending on who you are, I might charge you $2,000 a month, right? Depending on what kind of business you have, maybe 1,000 a month. Big difference. 300 a year, 1,000 a month, right? So the only reason I'm able to do that is because now I got more testimonials, I got more credibility. My brand is known. Some of the top people in our industry know me, and I've interviewed them, and they've interviewed me, and I'm part of that network, right? And my brand is continually growing. So now I can command more. I could not have done that even 5 years ago. Make sense?